Welcome to Pale Blue Pod, the astronomy podcast for people who are overwhelmed by the universe but want to be its friend.
Yay! I'm Corinne Caputo. I'm a writer and a friend of the universe for sure. I'm thinking ahead to my birthday party, which is months away, but I'll probably invite the universe.
Aw, and I'm sure the universe would love to attend. It told me because I'm also a friend to the universe, and a friend to you. Hi, I'm Dr. Moiya McTier. I'm an astrophysicist and a folklorist, and a good bud. And also, right now, a big fan of chocolate. Which is why
Yum.
I brought us, Corinne, to take a tour of a chocolate factory. A factory that makes some of the, caramel and custard and jam-filled chocolates, like the type that you might expect to get or give around Valentine's Day. It's very tasty. It smells really good.
I love that. I love chocolates. I was not a chocolate kid growing up, but I am a chocolate adult.
Huh. What was that pipeline like? What got you to the chocolate adult stage?
I think just having good chocolate. I think when you're a kid, you eat a lot of Reese's Pieces and Three Musketeers and whatever. And I am a I love bitter taste. And I didn't have dark chocolate until I was much older.
Yeah. Well, they usually aren't giving the bitter stuff to kids. That makes sense.
No. Rightfully so. Mm-hmm. Kids should have fun.
Are you trying to say dark chocolate isn't fun?
Yeah. Dark chocolate's for the grown-ups. More for me.
Hoard it all, like the dark chocolate dragon that you are. I really miss this one specific chocolate brand that was local to Pennsylvania called Saris, and they had the best chocolate-covered pretzels. I could just eat pack after pack of them.
Ooh.
Corinne, do you have a favorite chocolatier?
No, I don't. I wish I did. I always end up buying something new, and then it's not always quite right. But I do love chocolate-covered pretzels. I haven't thought about those in a while.
Well, if I'm ever in a place to get Saris chocolate-covered pretzels, I will pick up some extra, and I will send them to you or give them to you when we record, because you need to experience it.
Yeah,
it's delicious.
I would love to try that.
Although we probably shouldn't be talking about other chocolatiers while we're touring this chocolate factory, so maybe we save that for after. And now we talk about something that they won't get offended by. We're going to be talking about the planet Venus today.
Yay!
We're going to talk about its historical associations. We're going to talk about some characteristics of the planet. And then I have a game at the end, a typical game that we have played for many of the planets. This one is a guessing game about the features of Venus, because as you will learn through the episode, Venus has neither moons nor rings, so we can't play our typical game there.
Aw.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's not lonely. I think Venus has a lot going for it, so maybe it would be too much going on if Venus also had moons and or rings. But before the end of this episode, Corinne, what are some things you would like to know about Venus?
Are women really from Venus? No. I really don't think about Venus that much. It's just never been I think it's in the Mercury camp where a lot of my science projects growing up were picturing or about the planets that were after Earth. And I kind of skipped over Mercury and Venus.
That's such an interesting perspective, Corinne. It says something about you preferring to look outward rather than inward in the solar system. Perhaps
that's the big takeaway from this. Or maybe I like to look ahead.
Ooh, I like that. So Venus is one of the classic wandering stars. We didn't need a telescope to discover it. It's actually the third brightest object in the sky. It's the only things brighter than it are the sun and the moon. So you can see that reflected in a lot of folklore and mythology from around the world. I couldn't even list all of the different associations that cultures have for the planet Venus. So I just am going to talk about a couple before we talk about the planet itself.
Great.
Venus can either be seen right before sunrise in the morning or right after sunset in the evening, and at those times it's called the morning star or the evening star. And this is all dependent on where Venus is in its orbit from our perspective. So when Venus is at western elongation, meaning from our perspective it looks like it's on the right side of the sun, that's when Venus is the morning star, because as the Earth rotates, Venus comes into view right before the sun does. So Venus can be seen right before sunrise. But at eastern elongation, when Venus looks like it's on the left side of the sun from our perspective, that's when Venus is going to be the evening star, because it comes into view right after the sun has set. Does that make sense?
Yes. I think, did I see Venus around the eclipse?
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Yay.
Okay.
Yeah, the Venus and Mercury are both always hanging out around the sun. So eclipses are good times to see both of them.
Fun.
Before heliocentrism, before we knew that the sun was at the center and the planets go around it, the morning star and evening star were often treated as two separate figures, especially in folklore. They would be two distinct figures, even if astronomers in some of these cultures knew that they were actually one figure. And a lot of cultures learned that over time, which is really interesting. Like, for example, the Greeks, they called the morning star Eosphoros, and they called the evening star Hesperos. So two separate figures. Notice neither of them is called Aphrodite. So the Greeks did not just call Venus Aphrodite. But both of these figures, Eosphoros and Hesperos, were children of Eos, which meant they were grandchildren of Aphrodite, so they were connected in that way. But the Greeks did know that it was a single planet by the 300s BCE. That's from records of astronomers who are talking about this object as it moves in the sky. So by the 300s BCE, we knew that Venus was one thing, but they continued to use the two different names, probably because the distinction between morning star and evening star was more useful from a practical perspective. It told you more about like the time of day and time of year than just calling it by one name, because it, like, having two names gave you more information.
Okay.
So the Greeks, they knew that it was one thing, but continued to use the two names. Other cultures had their own names for it. The Mesopotamians knew that it was one thing over time. You know, Mesopotamia existed for like 1,000 years. So by the end of it, they understood that Venus was one thing. And we know that because of an engraved cylinder that shows Venus with, I think it's an 8-pointed star. That was the symbol that they usually used for Venus. And we have this engraving that shows Venus next to the sun and the moon. So that, like, it shows that it's one figure. They associated Venus with their goddess Inanna. And then over time, it got shifted to being associated with the goddess Ishtar. Both of these goddesses, Inanna and Ishtar, were goddesses of both love and war, which is really interesting that it has that dual nature with these two forces that often are seen as at odds with each other, like love and war are seen as opposites. And it's really interesting, I think, that Venus, this star with like a double personality, right, like the morning star and the evening star, is what's associated with this really like dual-charactered goddess. I love that.
Yeah.
And those two associations kind of get carried on throughout time across the world, because we know that the Greeks and the Romans had some association with their goddesses of love, but the Mayans associated the planet with their god of war, who I think is called Kukulkan. And they even had calendar systems that incorporated solar, lunar, and Venusian cycles. So Venus was very central to their cosmology and was incorporated into their central calendar system. The Romans, after the Greeks called Venus these two different names, the Romans called it Lucifer, which meant light bringer, and they usually would use that to refer to the morning star. But they did say that this star was sacred to the goddess Venus. It didn't represent the goddess Venus, but it was very sacred to her. From the writing of Hyginus, we think Hyginus wrote this. There's a quote Some have said that it represents the son of Aurora and Cephalus, who surpassed many in beauty, so that he even vied with Venus. And, as Eratosthenes says, for this reason it is called the star of Venus. So something about the brightness of it in the sky, something about the slight, yellowish color of it, made people associate it with either beauty or war in a lot of different cultures. But it wasn't widely called Venus until the 13th century. So even in ancient Rome, when they had the goddess Venus that was like a ripoff of the Greek Aphrodite, they weren't calling the planet Venus. That wasn't until Latin monks much later, which is interesting, I think.
Yeah. I like the name Venus. I'm glad we landed there in the end.
Yeah, me too. And that was one of the kind of first pylons in the naming convention for the planets, because we named them after gods originally, and then when the IAU came along, it stuck with that convention. But it is the only planet named after a female figure from folklore, so it has that going for it.
I love that about her.
Me too. I have some information about the planet itself. Are you especially curious about anything before I get started?
No, but I am curious about the planet itself. I feel like I know very little about what's going on over there.
Mm-hmm. It's the planet in our solar system that's, from a distance, seems the most like Earth. And a lot of astronomers call it Earth's twin. So here are some numbies. It orbits 67 million miles, or 108 million kilometers away from the sun. And it is the least eccentric planet in our solar system. Its eccentricity is 0.007, 0.007. So in my mind, I'm now going to associate Venus with James Bond.
It's a spy.
Yes. Honestly, Venus is kind of a spy. It goes around the sun really quickly. It's always hiding in the sun's light, so it's hard to see. Yeah, kind of.
I love that. I asked my husband recently what is the worst possible job for me, and he said spy. So,
you know what, Eli? I can see it.
Yeah. I think it's because he was like, you're extremely clumsy and you talk too much.
Yeah, Corinne, you would just talk to all the people.
I would befriend everyone, gossip with everyone, and bump into things at the, museum heist or something. I would never go through a laser maze safely.
Oh, basically you're too social and likable to be a spy. Is what
but then
I'm hearing.
Suddenly I was like, I've never wanted to be a spy, but now I need to prove to you that I can be a spy.
I wanted to be a spy so badly when I was a little kid. There were a bunch of kids spy books that I read, and I was convinced.
Did you ever see Spy Kids?
Oh yes, of course I saw. I understand why you would ask though, because there is a lot of just normal culture that I missed out on. I think it could have
missed you. Yeah, it could have missed you.
But yeah, no, I saw Spy Kids, and I know that the boy from Spy Kids is now married to Meghan Trainor.
Yes, Moiya. I know that, and I love that.
I love that. What a meeting of worlds.
2 toilets in their bathroom.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's what I know about them. Okay.
That's kind of beautiful. Okay. Well, back to Venus. It's the least eccentric planet in our orbit. It orbits the sun every 225 Earth days, but it orbits on its axis every 243 Earth days. So a day on Venus is longer than a year. And from sunset to sunset or something, it takes 117 days. Because by the time you've rotated, you've also moved enough around the sun that the same spots are under sunlight.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a weird system. They do not have easy days and years like we do here on Earth. But not all twins have to be exactly the same.
So true. That's what we say as twins.
I was wondering if you had any twin mottos. Venus does have another interesting thing about it. It rotates clockwise from up above, which is opposite all the planets. So the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, which is backwards from us. So it's exciting. And it takes, from our perspective, 584 days to go through a full set of phases. And the ancient Mayans, because they incorporated Venus so heavily into their calendars, they knew this. They measured, this is called the synodic period for Venus, and they measured it to 584 days. The exact number is like 583.8 something. They were like real close. Mm-hmm. And they knew that every 8 years, Venus would return to, like the whole cycle would start again. So every 584 days, Venus would go back to the same place relative to Earth. But every 8 years, everything would reset. So they like were able to count out that long cycle.
That is a long cycle to be able to track.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's like really devoted to their note-taking.
They were so good at note-taking. They had great memories. They had great eyesight, because this is before telescopes. They're just looking at stuff with their eyes and trying to approximate positions. Like, I'm so impressed that they were able to learn all that.
Yeah.
It's called Earth's twin because it's nearly the exact same size. Earth's diameter at the equator is just under 8,000 miles, and Venus's diameter at the equator is just above 7,500, so very close. It's 82% the mass of Earth. It's 90% the gravity, so all the numbers are like, well, around each other. It has a similar iron core and then a similar oozy ironish and nickel mantle outside of that, and then a thin rocky crust. And it has a surface that is, I think I saw like 2/3 of it is smooth plains, like very, very large plains, but it does have a bunch of mountain ranges and volcanoes. It's very volcanically active. It might have plate tectonics, though that's an active area of research. There's suspected subduction, so they think that the plates of the crust are like getting pulled under each other by the volcanic activity, which is like a precursor to plate tectonic movement. So it's basically Earth, but a little smaller and hotter. Like volcanoes on level 11.
Yikes, okay.
Yeah. It is technically in the sun's habitable zone. Like if we were an alien species looking at Earth from a different system with the same type of technology that Earth scientists have access to, it would look habitable.
Mm-hmm. It's a summer house.
It would look like Earth's summer house.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it looks like the same size. It looks like it's the right distance from the sun. The only reason it's not habitable is because of its atmosphere. Mm-hmm. You see, Venus is the second planet from the sun, but it's still the hottest planet in our solar system because of how good its atmosphere is at trapping heat. The atmosphere is more than 96% carbon dioxide. And if you've been paying any attention to environment news, you know that carbon dioxide is really good at trapping in heat. It's one of the most effective greenhouse gases that we see. So it's more than 96% carbon dioxide. There's like 3-ish% molecular nitrogen. And then there are a bunch of clouds made out of sulfuric acid. So it's
Yikes.
Not exactly the most hospitable environment. The surface temperature, would you like to guess how hot the surface of Venus gets?
I don't know, like 900 degrees.
Corinne, no, you're too good.
I'm being dramatic.
You're 900 was the right number. Like, that was the number I was looking for. I don't know what type of magic you're wielding to always guess so spot on, but wow. Yeah, the surface temperature is about 900 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hot enough to melt lead. The pressure at the surface is 93 times higher than the pressure at Earth's surface at sea level. It is very hot and very squishy. Like, you get squished.
Ugh, yikes, okay. Not going there.
No, humans should not go there. Even the spacecraft that we send there can only survive very brief amounts of time if they survive entry at all. But some of them have, and one like Soviet Union probe that managed to land on the surface and survive long enough to turn around and take a picture of the sky saw just haze, just yellow haze.
Whoa.
Yeah. So if you were standing on Venus's surface, and you had bones and skin that were hardier than lead, you would look up and you would just see like yellow haze. You might not even see stars. Like probably not.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
spooky. Don't like that.
But as you move up in the atmosphere, it does get a little bit more mild. By the time you're 30 miles up from the surface, the temperature is in Earth ranges from like 80 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Like way more survivable. And they do have really high speed winds, getting up to about 225 miles per hour in the upper atmosphere. But I think maybe high winds, if you are constrained to an upper atmosphere existence, probably isn't the worst thing. Like that's, I can see how strong winds would be helpful in that scenario.
Totally.
The upper atmosphere also has a lot of these mysterious dark streaks that are caused by a, quote, unknown absorber, according to NASA. This is some molecule, we don't know what it is, we're still trying to figure it out, that absorbs UV radiation from the sun and creates like these dark streaks that are hard to see through in Venus's atmosphere.
That's spooky. I don't like that.
You want to know something spookier, Corinne?
Yes, always.
The atmosphere itself rotates faster than the planet.
What? Like I'm seeing clouds go by quickly?
Yeah, the clouds, but like not just the clouds moving through the atmosphere, like the whole air mass rotates. Like air gets transferred across the surface of the planet more quickly than the planet itself rotates.
I don't like it. Where's it trying to go?
It's trying to
What is it
escape
up
the
to?
heat.
Yeah, good luck.
Well, yeah, because it's a very dense atmosphere, so heat can be transported really effectively, and air moves because of differences in temperature and pressure. And this is just such an extreme environment that the air can move really fast. But we're still trying to figure out why exactly is the atmosphere rotating so much faster than the planet. I don't have relative speeds, but I think that's also something we're trying to pin down.
Yeah, well, let me know.
I will. Well, we will do an update as soon as they figure it out. Like I said before, Venus has no moons, and it has no rings, and it just barely has a magnetic field. It doesn't have any sort of internally generated magnetic field, which is surprising since its internal composition is so similar to Earth's, but just something about its core and its mantle are different enough from Earth's that it does not generate its own magnetic field. Instead, Venus has a weak version of what is called an induced magnetic field. It's caused by the sun's magnetic field interacting with charged particles in Venus's ionosphere, and Venus only has those charged particles because the sun has basically stripped electrons away from particles in Venus's upper atmosphere. So the sun creates the charged particles in Venus's atmosphere and then interacts with them with its own magnetic field to give Venus a very weak thing that is much, much less than 1% the strength of Earth's magnetic field. It might as well not even have one.
That's dramatic. Yeah.
Hello, Dr. Moiya here. Corinne is getting a tour and a taste test of the nougat room in the chocolate factory, and nougat isn't really my thing. So I figured I would take this opportunity to thank our patrons who support the show every single month. A huge thank you especially goes to our sun-like stars, Lissa, Scott Reynolds, Ian O'Leary, Augustin, and Tom T. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for your continued support of the show. We don't have any new patrons this week, and I would love to have new patrons to announce on next week's episode. So please, if you can support us, then you can hear your name on the show, and you can even maybe make it to our patron star chart for just about $1 per episode. We even offer annual memberships where you get a 13% discount across the entire year if you sign up for 12 months up front. That is 1 percentage point for every constellation along the sun's path in the sky. You can find our star chart and our Patreon info and more at our website, palebluepod.com, or go right to the source if you already know you want to support us. That is at patreon.com/palebluepod. Of course, if you can't support us financially, that's totally fine. We love you very much. You're still space. You're still a part of the Pale Blue Pod fam. There are other ways that you can support the show. You can rate and review the show on whatever app you use. I really enjoy reading your reviews. And you can share the show with your friends. Word of mouth reviews are the most powerful way to help a podcast grow, and we would really appreciate it. All right, my next message is coming to you from both me and my co-sponsor of this message. It's my cat, Cosmo. You probably haven't heard him because I have a very official audio recording setup that keeps Cosmo away from my microphone. But I do. I live with a cat. He's about 5 years old. His name's Cosmo, and he is my vicious little murder baby. He is the fuzzy love of my life. I love him so much. I love him enough that for the last 5 years, I have been scooping his poop every day that I can remember, his poop and his pee, and it's stinky, and it hurts my back. And also, I travel a lot, so I worry that when I'm gone, the sitter I hire to take care of him won't clean the litter box in the very control freak way that I would want her to. I also have ADHD, so remembering to scoop the litter box every single day, even when I am home, is kind of a struggle. But Litter Robot is the solution to all of my and potentially your litter box problems. With Litter Robot, you never have to scoop again. Litter Robot is a self-cleaning technology that automatically cleans after every time your cat uses the litter box so that they'll always have a fresh bed of litter to do their business. And when your friends come over, they won't think your house smells like a litter box. The extra cool thing about this is that Litter Robot will send you a notification on your phone. There's a whole app that you use to set it up. And they send you that notification every time your cat uses the Litter Robot and every time the Litter Robot needs to be emptied. It even gives you data and insights to stay on top of your cat's health. I got the Litter Robot in a giant box, and it actually wasn't even that heavy. It was really easy to set up with the instructions that they give and with the app that you can download to your phone. The weight sensor is how the Litter Robot knows when your cat has used the Litter Robot so that it can automatically clean it. And you get to set how long the robot waits to start the cleaning cycle after that weight sensor is triggered. So there are a lot of ways that you can set this up to be customized to you and your cat's life. This is a really good litter box to have if you have multiple cats and a smaller space. I am thinking of getting Cosmo a little brother or sister so that he's not alone while I travel. I will tell you that Cosmo's still a little skittish around the litter box. He is getting more comfortable with it every day because I put the Litter Robot right next to his old litter box. So know that there may be a transition period if you have a more sensitive cat like I do, but if you get through that transition period, it's going to be so worth it because you will then be scoop free. So, as a special offer to listeners of Pale Blue Pod, you can get $50 off of any Litter Robot bundle. That's at stopscooping.com/palebluepod with the promo code PaleBluePod. Again, that's an extra 50% off any Litter Robot bundle at stopscooping.com/palebluepod with the promo code PaleBluePod at checkout. Make you and your cats extra happy. All right, before we get back to this episode, I have a podcast recommendation. This is another show in the Multitude Collective, and it is one of my personal faves. It's called Spirits. This is a history and comedy podcast focused on everything folklore, mythology, and the occult, and it's told through the lens of feminism, queerness, and modern adulthood. All of those words are things that I absolutely love, and that's why Spirits is one of the only podcasts that I listen to every single week. Every week, mythology buff Julia and her childhood best friend Amanda get together to learn about a different story from mythology and folklore over drinks. That's everything from mythological origins of major franchises like Lord of the Rings and Pokemon and Wonder Woman, all the way to modern urban legends that listeners of the show send in and they read on air, all the way to a roundup of werewolf stories from around the world. You can start listening now with any of their more than 350 episodes that they've released over the last 7 years. There's really so much to enjoy, whether you're here for analyses of mental health in mythology or or creepy modern ghost stories. You can join me in diving in at spiritspodcast.com, or you can search for Spirits wherever you download your podcasts. And honestly, if you ever were to interact with me in person, there's a high chance that I'm going to reference an episode of Spirits anyway. So listening to Spirits is another way to understand Moiya better. So go to spiritspodcast.com or Spirits wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's get back to this episode because Corinne has come over. Her hands are covered in chocolate, but so are mine. This tour is amazing. But let's get back to Venus. So those are my facts about Venus. It is a hot, dry place. No water has been found there, and we would expect that all of it got boiled away either by the sun in early formation or by the atmosphere being just so incredibly hot. So there's no water. It's extremely volcanically active. Sulfuric acid clouds probably make really bad rain if there's any. But it would probably just dissolve or like evaporate as it falls. So yeah, not a welcoming place.
Yeah, I don't want to get caught there.
No. And because it's so unwelcoming, it's really hard to study. We have sent more than 40 missions to attempt to study Venus, either by flying by or by orbiting. We've tried to land several things on the surface, but most of them have not been successful. But in total, more than 40 missions have attempted to study Venus. The first spacecraft to successfully study it, it was a flyby. It was Mariner 2 in 1962, and I think we were sending it to Mercury, but it passed Venus in the meantime and took some pictures, like gave us some info as it was flying by. But we really had to wait until technology could put something on the surface of Venus to learn much more.
Yeah. And I can't wait for us to go, and I'm not there at all.
I don't think anyone will call for humans to go to Venus. I have never heard anyone call for a human settlement on Venus. I think even the Musk bros understand that is an environment we shouldn't try to mess with. Yeah. It's like Mars is not good for us. It doesn't have air that we need. It doesn't have dirt that we need. It doesn't have magnetic fields that we need. It doesn't have protection from cosmic rays that we need. Like, none of that stuff. But Venus is even worse.
Yeah, totally.
No one wants us to go there.
I ain't going there.
But we did manage to send a couple of probes to its surface. A lot of these successful ones were part of the Venera probe series by the Soviet Union in the 1980s. Their longest surviving probe lasted like 2 hours and change on the surface. The shortest lived one, like a lot of them burned up in the atmosphere, but the shortest one at the surface only survived for 22 minutes. Yeah. The longest lasting one that survived for 2 hours, that was their probe that they sent in 1981. But the Venera series had 16 orbiters and probes through the late 1970s to like 1985-ish, and they learned about the atmosphere composition, which is really cool. The image that we have looking up at the yellow haze, that was taken by one of these Venera probes. They also took surface temperature and pressure measurements, which were really important because we didn't know empirically the temperature of Venus before a probe went to measure it. Like, we could try and calculate it or measure it or whatever using models, but we had to send something there. The last probe that was sent to reach Venus's surface, or that got into Venus's atmosphere, was 1984. So we haven't sent anything into Venus's atmosphere since 1984.
Wow, 40 years ago.
Wow, quick math. Yes.
Well, it's easy when it ends in the same numbers as what I'm in.
You're right. But we have sent a few other missions, and people around the world have done this. It's not just NASA. But NASA did launch in 1989, they launched Magellan, which orbited Venus from 1990 to 1994, not going into its atmosphere, but just orbiting around. And it mapped about 98% of Venus's surface using radar before it lost contact in 1994.
Aww.
Yeah. That happens a lot with these missions that we send somewhere else. We know we're just sending them out to last as long as they can before they can't talk to us anymore.
Yeah. Aww.
Yeah. But thank you, Magellan, for telling us about those big plains and the stretches of mountains and all of the volcanoes. So many surface features. There are like 4 different Wikipedia pages of surface features on Venus.
Really?
Like there's one page that's just all of the mountains. There's one page that's just all of the craters. There's one page that's like all of the other types of topographical features that I've never heard of, like tesserae and planetae and like all these other very specific types of features. And they all have names.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. But we'll get to that in our game. The only active Venus mission currently is Japan's Akatsuki mission. It's the Venus Climate Orbiter, so it also is not going into the atmosphere, but orbiting around the planet. It launched in 2010, and it tried to approach Venus, but failed, so it had to hang out around the sun for like 5 years, and then it finally entered Venus's orbit in 2015.
Oh my gosh, that's like missing the bus, and the next one is in like 9 hours. The next one's in 5 years. Yeah, that's what Akatsuki had to do. It had 5 different cameras on it, so it is really focused on imaging. And it has 1 radio wave emitter. And the whole point of this instrument is to emit radio waves so that when it's on the other side of Venus, from our perspective, it can emit the radio waves, which will pass through Venus's atmosphere. And then we'll be able to study what that atmosphere is made of based on how the radio waves have been affected, which is cool. But the main goal of this whole mission is to study the atmosphere of Venus and learn why it rotates so quickly around the planet. They're especially interested in that mystery. And they also may have spotted lightning on Venus for the first time in those sulfuric acid clouds. People thought that there would be lightning on Venus for a while, but this is the first time it has like empirical observation, although it's still waiting confirmation that that's actually what it saw. India is planning to launch their own Venus orbiter called Shukrayan in December of this year. That's the planned date. I hope they make it. It has enough instruments to study the planet in a wide range of wavelengths, everything from infrared. I think it said something about UV in the planning documents, but it was named after Shukra, who was a bright figure and a sage from Hindu folklore, like all up in the Vedic text. Yeah.
I actually didn't read out what this acronym was before. I just like copy and pasted it. Wow, they're doing so much with this. Okay. NASA is planning on launching an instrument, a spacecraft called Da Vinci. It said no sooner than 2029. Da Vinci stands for Deep Atmosphere Venus Investigation of Noble Lowercase Gases, Chemistry, and Imaging Plus.
No.
Yeah.
No. We're working backwards.
Yeah, they were in that instance. Although there aren't any nested acronyms, which I like.
I do like that.
There aren't any capitals in the middle of words.
I guess I just like when we take the spirit of the word and we don't force the acronym.
Yeah, this was a rough one. Maybe before it launches in 5 years, they'll have fixed it.
They'll have time.
But this is going to be the first instrument, if it launches on time, to enter Venus's atmosphere, and they're going to try and measure its composition. They also want to study tesserae on the surface, which are these weird little ripply geographical features, because they don't understand how they form. And if they could understand it, then we would have, a better grasp on the tectonics and the volcanism and like the internal stuff happening in Venus. And then Rocket Lab, which I think is just like a company, and MIT, the university, they are sending the first private mission to Venus this year in December of 2024, and it's called the Venus Life Finder mission. Their goal is to probe the atmosphere to look for biosignatures, organic molecules and other compounds that indicate there is or was life on Venus. They're opting for a lean model, so they only have one science instrument, and that instrument is going to basically like scrape and analyze gases in the atmosphere to try and find these molecules. And the fact that it only has a single science instrument means that it would never in a million years get accepted as a scientific instrument proposal. This is something that only like private commerce can do, because all of the science missions that NASA and any other agency would launch, they all serve multiple functions. They all try to solve multiple science mysteries. Mm-hmm. Like NASA doesn't fund anything that's just trying to answer one question, because they're always trying to work in what's the word? Not delinquencies, but I can't think of the word right now, but it's when like if one thing fails, there's another backup to take its place.
Contingency.
Yeah.
As they should.
And I have complicated feelings about private space industries, but yeah, this is something that's like wouldn't get picked up by academia
totally.
or the conventional route, so go for it.
Love it. Get it.
Mm-hmm. Because they are specifically looking for biosignatures, hopefully this will resolve the big Venus phosphine question. Have you been keeping up to date with the phosphine debate?
Oh my gosh, not at all.
Yeah. Why would you? That was a ridiculous thing for me to ask.
Excited to learn, though.
So in 2020, researchers led by Jane Greaves at Cardiff University in Wales, yes, that's where it is, they announced that they had detected a molecule called phosphine in Venus's clouds. That finding was then refuted, and then it was detected again, and then it was refuted again. And the latest that I have seen is from Greaves from July of 2023, saying that her team has once again detected phosphine, but this time deeper into Venus's atmosphere. So I don't know if that makes it a more or less convincing find, but basically the science community has gone back and forth for years on whether or not this molecule phosphine exists in Venus's clouds. Because if it does, that might indicate that there's life, because here on Earth, phosphine is mostly produced through organic biological processes. Or at least when it's not produced through those processes, it's very short-lived. Mm-hmm. So if something is producing it in big enough quantities in Venus's atmosphere to be detected, what's doing that? It's either life, or it's a chemical process that we haven't seen on Earth. Either way, very exciting. But first we have to confirm that the detection is real.
Yeah, Team Phosphine for me.
Yeah. I did an episode of my other podcast, Exolore, where I invited one of the scientists on that paper, and a dragonfly scientist, and an aviation specialist to help me imagine the life that could have existed there. Because scientists think that in the past, Venus was much more habitable before all the volcanic activity put those greenhouse gases in its atmosphere and puffed up its temperature and pressure. Mm-hmm. And so in that Exolore episode, we imagined, what if life could evolve on Venus at a time when it was very Earth-like, and then they saw their planet getting hotter, and they built balloons, and they now live in those big blimps in the cloud. That's so why we see phosphine.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
It was very fun. So yeah, I think pay attention to this space in the next 10 or so years, it seems, because there are a bunch more missions going to Venus by 2030. I mentioned a few of them already, but there's also NASA's Veritas mission, and the European Space Agency has their Envision mission, which is not an acronym. I appreciate that. Veritas is an acronym, and I don't even Venus something, but Envision is just a word, and thank you to the European Space Agency for that. Yeah, Venus is pretty cool. We've been able to study the way that it transits the sun to calculate the distance between the Earth and the sun. We have studied the phases of Venus. It was one of the things that Galileo used to like further debunk geocentrism. Like Venus, it has no moons or rings or magnetic field, but it holds a special place in our hearts from a science perspective.
It does. It's now in my heart.
Yay! Very appropriate for the planet that eventually was just associated with love goddesses.
Yes.
But I have a little game for you, Corinne.
Yay!
It has no moons, but it does have a bunch of surface features, and the naming convention is that all of these surface features are named after real or mythological women, and there are a lot of them. They really had to dig deep. Some of these features are just named after common first names for girls in different cultures.
Okay.
But most of them are named after specific women or specific, like, goddesses and deities. And I have 5 for you.
Okay.
5 different features. And I'm going to describe the real person. Well, one of them is a mythical figure, but I'm going to describe the woman that the feature is named after, and then you have to tell me which feature I'm talking about.
I love it.
Yay.
Can you give me a list of the features, and then I'll have my answer key?
Yes.
Okay.
So there are 5. In no particular order, we have the Sacagawea patera. I had never heard of a patera before, but geologists really like to categorize. I love that for them. So there's the Sacagawea patera. There's the La Chapelle crater.
La Chapelle.
There's the Graham patera and the Christie crater and the Agrona Lineae.
And Lineae is another feature?
Feature. Yeah, okay. Probably something that looks like a line, I would guess.
Okay.
Let's do the first one.
Let's go.
This mythical figure is the Welsh goddess of slaughter and the destroyer of life. She's a war goddess associated with the Celtic Morrigan, who's like a threefold goddess of truth and war and death.
Ooh. And it's Welsh. Well, like, it's not Sacagawea.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Graham or
Good.
Christie. La Chapelle is, like, French to me. I'm going to go with Agrona because it feels like an older name. And this feels like an old, like when I hear goddess, I associate that with, like, you know, antiquity, like just vintage names.
Yes. Yeah. Great job.
Oh, yay. Okay.
It is the Agrona Lineae. It is 2,300 kilometers in diameter, and it was named in 2006.
Oh, wow. Recent-ish. But before that movie Paul we just talked about.
Yes. Blessedly before the movie Paul. I'm trying to figure out what a linea is. A linea is. It looks like maybe it's like a boundary line. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter. Let's move on to number 2. This Shoshone woman led a famous colonial expedition hundreds of miles west from North Dakota to the Pacific Ocean in the early 1800s.
That's got to be Sacagawea.
Yes, that is indeed Sacagawea. Can't
Got
trick
it.
you. That's the Sacagawea patera. And now I want to look up what a patera is.
Yes, please.
A patera is a broad, shallow, bowl-shaped feature on a planet's surface. So like a tiny little crater.
Oh.
Okay, great job. Number 3.
Yay.
This dancer and choreographer was born in Pittsburgh, PA. That's where I was born. She was born in 1894, which is not the year I was born. She developed a modern dance style and mode of teaching that is still taught worldwide. She was the first dancer to be invited to perform at the White House and was awarded a Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Gerald Ford.
That has got to be Martha Graham. So Graham.
Did you know her first name?
I know Martha.
Martha Graham?
I know Martha Graham. I think I did a project on Martha Graham when I was in middle school.
Oh my God. I love that you knew that. Yes, it is Martha Graham.
That's like the only bit of dance knowledge I know. And like, I guess Fosse from that FX show.
Corinne, that's wild.
But I do know Martha Graham.
There were literally hundreds of names that I scrolled through, and I got
Really?
overwhelmed, and I just picked
Wait.
it. I just picked Martha Graham.
Do you know Martha Graham?
No,
not
I've never
before
heard of this woman before.
That's so funny. To me, Martha Graham is like in all those books of like women your daughter should know. Like, you know, you're in middle school and like there's all those like girls who kick butt.
Yeah. Well, that's why she has a little shallow bowl-shaped divot named after her on Venus.
It. That's so
It was
fun.
named in 1997 and is 75 kilometers across.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. It's like very, very small. I cannot believe you knew who that was. That's amazing.
That's so funny. To me, she's like, I'm more surprised that you don't know who she is, which is totally because I think everyone knows what I know.
Mm-hmm. Yep, same. You are 3 for 3. Number 4. This French medical researcher was born in 1769. She came from a long line of midwives, though her daughter broke the trend, and she eventually became the head of obstetrics at the oldest hospital in Paris. Her daughter became a nun.
Okay, I don't know who this is, but I think it's La Chapelle because I earlier said it was a French name.
It is indeed
yes.
Marie La Chapelle,
yes.
For whom the La Chapelle crater is named. It was named in 1991, and it's very small, just about 40 kilometers across. And I'm assuming that the difference between a crater and a patera is the depth, not the diameter, because this is smaller in diameter than the Gram patera. So, interesting. And finally, you'll be able to figure this out. This English author was born in 1890 and went on to write 66 acclaimed detective novels and 14 short story collections. She's the world's most translated individual author, and her book, And Then There Were None, is the 5th most sold book of all time, with 100 million copies sold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's got to be the Christie crater, but it is Agatha Christie.
Yes. Yes, it is. I actually have never read an Agatha Christie book, but my mom loves her.
I have one on my shelf, never read it. I love, like, detective TV shows. Like, I can't get enough of rewatching Monk. But I've never really read a mystery novel. Like,
I really like them.
This kind of mystery novel.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
I've been rewatching Bones, so I feel you on the, like, detective show. But I love a cozy little detective novel because they're so, I don't want to say formulaic, but, like, you know what to expect from them.
Yes.
Like, you know that the mystery is going to be solved and the detective's going to go back to life as normal. Like, nothing's really going to change, which is
cozy.
Nice. Yeah. But yay, you went 5 for 5. Maybe like the first
This
time.
is my best one, and I think maybe it's the lady theme. I just figured it out.
Oh, thanks, Venus.
No, thanks middle school for teaching me about Martha Graham.
I should know about her. We were born in the same city.
Moiya, the thing is, I couldn't tell you a thing about her. I just know her name's Martha Graham, and she did dance. Like, you taught me more about her today.
Awesome.
Perfect. And that's enough. And I can't wait to get my chocolate fill.
Yes.
At the factory.
Yes, as part of the tour, we get to pick out and make our own little assortment of candies. So I'm very excited to do that. I think we should go do that. But any lingering questions or thoughts about Venus before we do?
Just that I can't wait to learn more about it as we send more missions and things there, but stay away from me.
Yeah, we don't need to go there. It's too hot. Too hot for us. I cannot handle that smoke. I gotta stay out of that kitchen.
Oh my god, yeah, absolutely not.
But it's okay. You don't have to go to Venus. We don't either. No matter what planet we're on, we're all still space.
We are.
And we love you. Bye-bye. Pale Blue Pod was created by Moiya McTier and Corinne Caputo with help from the Multitude Productions team. Our theme music is by Evan Johnston, and our cover art is by Shay McMullen. Our audio editing is handled by the incomparable Misha Stanton.
Stay in touch with us and the universe by following @PaleBluePod on Twitter and Instagram, or check out our website, palebluepod.com. We're a member of Multitude, an independent podcast collective and production studio. If you like Pale Blue Pod, you will love the other shows that live on our website at multitude.productions.
If you want to support Pale Blue Pod financially, join our community over at patreon.com/palebluepod. For just about $1 per episode, you get a shout out on one of our shows and access to director's commentary for each episode. The very best way, though, to help Pale Blue Pod grow is to share it with your friends. So send this episode, this link, to one person who you think will like it, and we will appreciate you for forever.
Thanks for listening to Pale Blue Pod. You'll hear us again next week.
Bye.